Thank you for staying with us. Tonight, we turn our attention to a topic that has sparked intense debate, both within and outside Nigeria. The recent claims by the United States alleging incidents of religious genocide in Nigeria. These allegations, if substantiated, carry serious implications for Nigeria's image, foreign relations, and internal cohesion. But what is the reality on the ground? Are these claims fair reflections of the situation, or do they stem from misinformation and external bias? Another developments in the security sector, President Tinubu announced major changes in the leadership of the Nigerian armed forces, appointing new service chiefs as part of renewed efforts to strengthen the country's national security architecture. And to help us unpack these issues, I'm joined by Dr. Bwala, Special Advisor to the President on Media and Policy Communication. Dr. Bwala, it's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and good evening.
Good evening to you. So let's start with this major developments. I mean, Nigerians are yearning to hear from you. A major shake-up in the leadership of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Mr. President has now appointed new service chiefs. First, what's the motivation behind this? Was this about performance? Was it about loyalty, a shift in security policy, or just reshuffling for optics? What is it?
Section 5 of the Constitution confers executive powers of the government of the Federation in the office of the President. And Section 5 says he exercised the power either by himself or through the Vice President or through the ministers of the government of the Federation or through other agencies. In other words, the President, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, has the prerogative to run the government as far as the executive branch is concerned by choosing who, when, and how he wants it. Secondly, the President, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, sits in a vantage position where he receives security briefings and has more information than any other person in Nigeria because of the exceptional nature of his office and the mandate that is attached to that office. So we trust the judgment of the President when he makes a decision, because we believe he is well informed and he is sitting on a vantage position to be able to make that decision. The President makes decisions that are appropriate to assist him in delivering on the promise to the Nigerian people. And so whatever decision he makes, he has the wisdom, he has the foresight, and he believes that the structure is necessary. And I think people should get to familiarize themselves with one thing, that the executive branch of government is not built to be stagnant. At every given time that the President feels he needs to restructure, not just the security architecture, but it can be the cabinet or any other area of government that he needs to structure. You can see that from when he took the oath of office from 2023, he has been taking this type of decisions, bold and courageous decisions necessary to put Nigeria on a better trajectory. And so we welcome that development, and I believe that the Nigerian people will see more of these positives in the coming days.
Right. And interestingly, Dr. Bwala, you know, before now, some Nigerians had called for this. I mean, I have spoken with some security experts in this program who have asked for a change in Nigeria's security architecture and a thorough investigation. But, you know, Mr. President had insisted that he would never interrogate his service chiefs and that they were doing a good job. So, I mean, you cannot blame some Nigerians for being shocked that this shake-up happened. But ultimately, will this replacement have an immediate impact on Nigeria's security landscape?
Obviously, it will, because the President must have seen, the President is like a coach, right? So he has a team, he has the tactical know-how, he also have the strategic, techniques that is needed to win the match. And so sometimes in football, you will see that a player might even be playing very well. That it is not because he's weak, but he's playing very well, but because the coach wants to change the tactics to deliver on what he wants to achieve in the match. So, for example, if the two teams are playing and you're already winning, but maybe the nature of the position you are in the team, in the group, or in the league, you needed more goals to have advantage over your competitors. The coach can make changes that are necessary to bring in players that will score more goals to come. If it is a tactic that is required to defend what has been won, maybe you're leading with 1 goal, but just want to defend it because you also have other matches coming. So the coach is in a position to make decisions necessary for the betterment of the team. There are people who are also saying that that should be extended to the cabinet. Don't worry. Whatever it is that needs to be done or needed to be done to push the country forward is what the president, I can assure you, will do. Ordinarily, if the president were to be the kind of person who probably makes decisions based on impulse or decision that is not well thought out, the president would not have taken the decision that has now put our economy in a better trajectory, where we're seeing commendations even from the international partners that were at the beginning saying that our economy is suffering. So that kind of proactive, that kind of courageous, and that kind of strategic decision-making skill that the president has, we have absolute trust in his judgment in delivering on those in order to put us forward.
And there have been whispers and online rumors suggesting tension within the military and even coup plot. How credible are these allegations? Do you think, Mr. President, these changes to the service chiefs were partly a preemptive move to prevent any form of military dissent?
I cannot confirm or deny, but what I know is that the president at every given time takes decision that is necessary to put the country not only on a better trajectory, but to even speed up the growth and development of the country. Now, when the decision is from the security platforms, then it is also very obvious, or it goes without saying, to reach the conclusion that the president has decided to take a strategic decision, make strategic decision that is necessary to probably give speed to our fight against insecurity, or that the speed is not enough, or that the speed is even more, but he needs to strategically position it in such a way that Nigeria will be safe and reliant, and the government of the federation will not at any given time be in a situation where enemies of the government will take advantage of. So the decision, I cannot confirm for you whether it has to do with coup or no coup, because when the president changed ministers, was it because there was coup or no coup? When the president makes the decision, he makes the decision because he thinks that that is necessary to put the country forward.
But really, I mean, I understand you, Dr. Bwala, but it's important to also, ask these questions because the conversations are out there. And many Nigerians are wondering what exactly is driving this conversation. In your view, what could have driven or what drives such rumors in Nigeria's current political climate as them being like any credible sign of instability within the ranks of the armed forces? Especially for those wondering why the Chief of Defense Intelligence retained his position, and also General Olufemi as the new Chief of Defense Staff, replacing General Christopher Musa.
The general thing, quite frankly, when it comes to the control of the armed forces or the intelligence platforms anywhere in the world, is that if there is any of the department that requires constant reordering, restructuring, and reorganizing, it is that security platforms. If you look at America or anywhere you go in the world, people are not kept in position to stay there like they can take thy kingdom come. No, that's why I gave you the analogy of football, that I say that the player may even be playing well, but maybe the strategy that is required to change the gamut of the game is necessary. The coach will make that decision. I have seen places where a player is doing extremely well. People watching the match think that if you take the player out, the match will lose the match. The coach changes it, and then you see things going. I've also seen matches where, especially with my former coach Mourinho, where you will see he will take out a player during corner kick or free kick and introduce a player. That player will go in there and that player will score the goal. So the coach knows what to do at every given time. Rumors or no rumors, the decision the president takes at any given time is not one that is backed up by rumors, but the one that is backed up by intelligence, by information, by decision that is necessary. The president puts Nigeria first in everything he does. Nigeria first, every other thing follows. So even if you think, for example, that you are so close to the president and therefore you are indispensable, you're just joking. Because I have not seen anybody in this government of President Bwala Tinubu, the president cannot change. That is one fact you can take to the bank. He is very measured, he is quiet, he's analytical, might be slow in taking decision, but you cannot question the decision when he takes it.
All right. And quickly before I move on to other matters, given the history of coups in Nigeria, do you think our democracy is truly insulated from military interference today?
No, there can never be a coup in Africa. Any military attempt or any platform that attempt to do coup in Africa, they will fall into deep shit and deep problem, because we have gone past that level. Now, Nigeria is a stable democracy if you look at the Africa and West African sub-region. As a matter of fact, Nigeria remaining a democratic country is the goal of every nation on earth. If you look at the UK, if you look at the United States, they are very concerned about immigration. If Nigeria gets destabilized today, those countries can't survive immigration or explosion in their country. So it is necessary that all efforts are going to be put in place to keep Nigeria as a viral and steady democracy. We know that there are elements who don't want the progress of this country, especially those ones from outside the shores of Nigeria that have been fanning the embers of a religious genocide, so to speak, because it is measured, we have calculated it. When I first said that the idea behind the narrative and disinformation around religious Christian persecution has a root in IPOB, people thought I was mad. But now there is an investigative report that came out and said that IPOB contributed very largely in fanning the emblem of the information around the falsehood of Christian genocide. And I have analyzed in the last probably 2 weeks, I was on every platform. I analyzed different reports that people have held or believed in arrive at the judgment that there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria. We went to the root of this report and we discovered that in those reports, you will see a linkage to IPOB. So there are people that will try to destabilize the country. That's why suddenly everybody is shouting, release Nnamdi Kanu. You put dot and dot, you will have an understanding. But that's why I like a president like President Bwala Tinubu. He is not hasty. He is not harsh. He is not rushing. He may be slow, but when he makes that decision, in 9 out of the 10 cases, there is always a reason. There was a day I was with him, we were talking, and he said there was a particular minister. When he made the decision to appoint the minister, all hell broke loose that he should not make that mistake. And he said that decision he made now, the same set of people that were fighting are the people coming to tell him that this minister is doing well, this minister is doing well. That is the kind of president that we have. Very, very measured in his decision making. But when he makes that decision, you can be sure to a large extent that that decision is correct.
All right, Dr. Bwala, now that you've gone there, because I wanted to ask you, what exactly does the U.S. government mean by religious genocide in the context of Nigeria, and whether the Nigerian government agrees with that characterization? But what exactly, how does this administration interpret the term religious genocide within Nigeria's security realities?
So the thing is that those who have been peddling this, there are two sets of people actually. There are the innocent people that when they saw this disinformation spreading like wildfire, innocently thought that the disinformation is correct and are jumping with it. Some of our religious leaders are acting in that. With the innocency of heart, they don't know that there is an agenda behind it. But there are the evil forces behind that. The investigative report that came out, which Arise TV showed yesterday, was that from 2016, IPOB started pushing the narrative of religious persecution in Nigeria. And if you look at the two reports so far that have been the report people have been relying on, and the only report that talk about religion, because there is United States Institute of Peace assessment, there is Human Rights assessment, there is a Transparency International assessment, other local assessment, but those assessments focus on just insecurity. And they're able to put out data to support that there have been insecurity, but that there is a steady decline. But these two reports, one that is by Inter-Society, and the second one that is by, yesterday I talked about it, I will remember it, just escaped my mind. Those are the ones that are talking about Christian persecution. If you look at these two reports, they are very silent on IPOB. The interstate, the Inter-Society report was the one that Ted Cruz was relying on. If you look at the report in Inter-Society, they said, the report saying that the southeastern Nigeria, there was nothing like IPOB, but that all the killings were done by security agencies in Nigeria because the people of the Southeast and the IPOB have a Judaism or Jewish background. And that is exactly what the lawmakers in the United States are banking on. So they come in the name of religious persecution, but they have a sinister plan to destabilize the country and then to push the agenda for cessation of a certain people in the country. But we understood it very early. That's why the president asked us to go all over the world and counter this disinformation. And we're doing that very effectively. Thankfully, people are beginning to see the truth and people are beginning to come out to call out some of these things.
All right, Dr. Bwala, and for the purpose of clarities, and let's bring it back home, because, this conversation was supposed to be basically about the U.S. description of what is happening in Nigeria. But bringing it back home, also because of those Nigerians you have termed innocent Nigerians, there are some Catholic bishops in Nigeria who have, repeatedly described the widespread violence against Christian communities by armed groups as genocide. For instance, Bishop Wilfred Anagwe of the Makurdi Diocese, for example, says in 2025, 17 parishes in his diocese were shut down due to persistent attacks. Khan has gone as far as accusing the presidency of twisting fact and misrepresenting its position. I mean, you're here today speaking on behalf of the presidency. Are these also exaggerated?
But the thing is that the Catholic Church in Nigeria is very strong and widespread. And when it comes to interest group is that whenever something happens, you first hold your own. So, for example, if everybody is asked to cry out, Catholic would defend their own, Protestants would defend their own, Pentecostals would defend their own. The bottom line of the issue is the subject matter, which is Christian genocide,
yes,
is there indeed Christian genocide? Now, number one. And number two, if you say there was Christian genocide in the past, in 2014 and 2015, I will agree with you, because when Boko Haram started at the time, they were targeting churches, they were killing pastors. That was the specific thing they were doing. But since 2016, 17, 18, when they saw they could not put Nigeria into religious war, they changed the gamut of their fight. They kill everybody. Nobody is saved in Nigeria. So to say that there is a Christian genocide is a mischaracterization of the truth. And since you are speaking to facts, like especially the recent report that Khan relied on when we made a visit to them, I went and studied that report. The bottom line of the report, it says there are 2-3 sets of killing by the same group of people. They identified those people in their reports, not me saying, in their report as Fulani militias or whatever.
Right.
But they said that these people have killed, both Christians have killed both Muslims, but the data suggests that more people have died who have not identified as either Christians or Muslim. How can you have this fact and also say that it's genocide?
All right. Dr. Bwala, let's take a break at this moment, and when we return, we'll continue this conversation on our other platforms. Please stay with us, everyone. Policy communication tonight has been helping with some facts and clearing the misrepresentation around U.S. claims of religious genocide in Nigeria. Thank you very much for staying with us on the program, Dr. Bwala. So
thank you.
Just to continue this conversation from where we stopped, because Khan says these are not isolated crimes, but a continuing pattern of violence that has, persisted for years without justice or closure. Again, for the purpose of clarity, what distinguishes genocide from other forms of mass violence?
So in the case of genocide, it is a target and deliberate isolation of a certain group and then the extermination of the group. So you are not just killing at will. You have, in most cases, genocide qualifies, like the judgment in the Supreme Court of the United States, it qualifies when there is a state act, it's a state policy. There are countries of the world today, if you try to exercise your freedom of worship and you're caught, you'll be killed. And so when they keep, like, for example, I'm not suggesting that is so, but there was a report they said about China that they have this state policy where you couldn't come with any religion other than the religion that or religion that they declare as their official religion. So if you are found like that, you are punished, you are killed, that can be classified as a genocide. When there are criminal activities in which no specific group are targeted, but all groups are being killed, then you cannot call that a genocide. The second point is, the same way that the killings affect the religion of the people who are termed as Christians in probably Plateau State or in Benue, because in those places, predominantly the people are Christians. In the same way, when the bandits and Boko Haram kill people in the northern Nigeria, northeastern Nigeria, or in the northwestern Nigeria, predominantly the people there are Muslims, and therefore they are more in number that gets affected by that. In the southeast, IPOB have been killing their own people. They have been abducting reverends because they said you must stay at home, you must not come out on Monday. Now, the target of those individuals, do you now call it a genocide? So the criminal activities in Nigeria, as far as the government, our own government is concerned, is one that we hate, and we're on top of our game to make sure we put an end to it. But we refuse the notion that there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria, because there is no tribe, no group, no religion that has been given sort of immunity from the criminal activity that is happening in Nigeria. But the reason why they use that term genocide, I can tell you that today, because they want to be able to rile up the sentiment in the western part of the world so that decisions can be taken against Nigeria. And they are not comfortable with the gains in terms of the economy and the strength that Nigeria is becoming. So anytime you destabilize a country through, let's say, restriction on travel, embargo on the purchase of arms, and all those things you introduce, you will weaken the economy of that country. So attack is against the progress we are making. For the opposition in Nigeria, some of them are accessories to this thing. But the reason they are behind that is because the way we are making steady progress, they no longer have any issue to raise and campaign because we are making the progress. So the only thing they can do is to see how they can be a part of this evil agenda to destabilize Nigeria. One thing is clear. We all agree in Nigeria that insecurity is a problem and we are all working towards ending it. But where we disagree is that some say that the killings in Nigeria is targeted against Christians. The government is saying it is not targeted against any religion. It is a criminal element trying to use that to divide us. And our focus is to deal with insecurity, not on the basis of religious differences, but on the basis of criminal activities.
All right, Dr. Bwala. So for the purpose of those who are scared, who are still afraid, and who are not convinced, how effective has the Nigerian government been in protecting vulnerable communities? How does the government ensure protection for all religious groups equally?
Yeah, the government does that through the law enforcement and all the security apparatus in Nigeria. When Department of State Services or the Nigerian Armed Forces go into a place to stop criminal activities, they don't ask, are you Christians, are you Muslims? You see, they defend the Nigeria because they took an oath by the Constitution to defend the lives of people. And let me tell you, we don't talk enough about the progress that our security forces are making in this country. You are talking about a 230 million population of people with less than 400,000 soldiers and less than 400,000 police, less than 400,000 all other security apparatus. If you put all of our security apparatus together, they are less than 2 million, a population of 230 million. One. Two, we are talking about a country with a landmass that a state in Nigeria equals a country in Europe. And some of these places where these people operate are in these ungoverned spaces. So you are talking about a country, because we are the giant of Africa, some of foreign interests in the West don't want our progress. They want dependency. That is why some of them are collaborating with these elements that come into our territories to do havoc. During this fight against Boko Haram, have our soldiers not arrested foreign nationals in the bush with the insurgents? Have they not seen the supply that is made by this element? So you are talking about a country with these limitations, but still trying. You are talking about a country whose budget in 2025 is less than about $35 billion to deal with all of this problem, including infrastructure and the rest. Yet, we are making very, very much progress in every field. If you look at the economy, we are making the progress required. If you look at agriculture, we are making the progress required. Look at the hope we are giving to our people. Look at our foreign reserve going. Look at our non-oil revenue increasing. Look at our import dependency going down. Look at opportunities that are being created. Even today, there is a report will be taken out of the countries that are having financial difficulty. All of these things we are grappling at the same time, dealing with insecurity that has been created by people who come from Libya, from the Sahel, against our people. So if you want to be unbiased, you will definitely applaud the Nigeria and the spirit of the Nigerian people in fighting against this. What we need as a government from the people: one, provide intelligence to the law enforcement. Two, have confidence in the government of your federation. Three, try to avoid being a part of foreign interests that want to destabilize the country. Four, wherever you see the Nigerian man, the Nigerian woman, give a helping hand. I can tell you the truth. We are surviving, we are becoming strong, and will be the beacon of hope for the black race in this world.
All right, Dr. Bwala, is this your response to those who constantly or consistently argue that government has not done enough to curb violence in communities frequently attacked?
So if you look at communities, for example, like I was saying the other day in an interview, I say focus creates blindness. As I'm looking at your camera now, I'm not looking at my back because these two eyes can only look at my front. So I have a limitation as to what happens behind my back. In the same way you look at the structure and the personnel that we have. If you have less than 300,000 to 400,000 soldiers, you have less than 400,000 police in that kind of landmass. It means that if, for example, there is a concentration of a fight in a certain place, then there is a limitation in another. Now, but is government making the effort? If we are not producing the result, why is it that the leaders of Boko Haram that the Americans could not arrest, we recently arrested them, we caught them? Why is it that we have decimated and killed a lot of bandits and Boko Haram? Why is it that when our people are abducted, we're able to recover them without paying ransom? Why is it that as a country, we get intelligence, we provide to other countries that will help them if we are not making the effort? But you see, Nigeria is like a family. No matter what you say as a father, the children, all they want is food on the table they eat. Your effort is not important to them. Just drop the food on the table. But there will be children in that house who will have some sensibility and they will see whether the father is making the effort or not. Remember, it's a country of diverse ethnic background. It's a country of diverse religion. It's a country with multi-political ideology. And so that kind of conversation will continue to go. I think that the media also mirror in on those people who believe that the government is making progress. Put these two together, let the average man look at it and assess.
All right.
But in Nigeria today, what creates the buzz? It is the negativity. But the good things that the government is doing, people don't tend to see it.
All right. Let's take this responsibility of government for a minute. Is there a role for faith-based organizations in peace-building efforts? How can political leaders, traditional rulers, and religious leaders work together to diffuse tensions?
Yes, there is. That's why in the last 1 week or 2 weeks, we are all over the map in Nigeria and then some part of the world. Like I'm in London. I came to London today to engage with British World Service. Now, but talking about people in Nigeria, our engagement with the various religious leaders, and we have started with the Christian community, we are going to extend that to the Muslim community, is to deepen dialogue around insecurity and what we can do as a people, religious leaders, the role they can play. Because to be able to push Nigeria, it's not just government. We are not in a movie theater watching government. The security of life and welfare is the responsibility of government. But when you hear government, government consists of public officials and those who are governed. That's why the government of the federation also include opposition. A governor of another party in another place is a member of the government of President Bwala Tinubu. And that's how the government works. So religious leaders can help by one, do not amplify disinformation, especially the notion that there is a Christian genocide. Some of the figures that our religious leaders are bringing are exaggerated figures. Take, for example, somebody asked me and said that there is a report finding that says in the northern Nigeria that there is an extinction of Christians and they are finishing in number. So the person is simple. When the Boko Haram started, all our Christian brothers and sisters who are doing their business and living, but who come from the southern Nigeria, they flee the north in order to save their lives. So it reduced the number of people in church. I am not suggesting that there are no killings of Christians. Get it clear. I am not suggesting there are no killing of Christians or pastors, and we deeply regret the death of anybody at all in Nigeria. But what I'm saying is we should not amplify disinformation like this one that the finding came up today, yesterday, very profoundly, that the people who are amplifying the religious persecution of Christians are the IPOB, and you know their agenda. Religious leader, one. Number two, let us talk about what keeps us together as a people. So we, in our various engagement with the religious leaders, we collect information. They gave us profound recommendation. They talked about government should definitely increase the effort in procuring technology for surveillance. We quite agree. We even told them the progress we have made in that regard. They also talk about prompt action, that rather than us sympathizing with people, they want to see that people's lives are saved. And we also suggest to them, let them create community vanguard and let them provide intelligence to law enforcement. Number three, we talked about they also talked about the issue of government being accountable and truthful to the people. And we told them that's the reason why we're engaging with you. We didn't come here to change your opinion or your position. No, we know your position, but we can still have dialogue and forge forward in the midst of the cacophony. So government, this is the effort the government is making by engaging with the religious leaders so we can harmonize, harness, and synergize our point of action against our common enemy. Because see, these people who are saying they are angry, United States should designate us as country of particular concern. If Nigeria is designated as country of particular concern, it will not stop the president of Nigeria traveling anywhere in the world. It will not stop the officials of government from traveling even to countries that restricted Nigerians because of that diplomatic relationship. Who are the people that will be most affected? The citizens of Nigeria. If you're a pastor and you're used to going abroad for training, maybe you're going to US for theological training or business or anything, they declare a country of particular concern, they will not single you out and say, you can go. You can't go. If your children are there, you will never see them until they come. If they might make mistake and come back to Nigeria, they can't go back to school. The same thing applies to our businessmen. So whenever you are wishing your country bad, just remember that if you point that one finger at the person, probably there are three consequential effects that will come on you. That's why I like what Bishop Matthew Kuka said a few days ago. He recognized that it's insecurity. He has always been complaining about insecurity. Perfect. But he said, we must be careful not to put Nigeria in a position where it will be designated as CPC.
All right.
Well-meaning Nigerians are coming out to talk about the progress of Nigeria.
And the messages you have passed in the last few minutes are basically for Nigerians. But you're in London, Dr. Bwala. What message would you like the international audience to take away from Nigeria's perspective?
So what we've been doing basically for the Western, because they control media and most of the perception that influence our society come from the West. All this manipulation of algorithm that will continue to fan the flames of anger and hate in our country, which is what some foreign interests use for regime change. We know it emanates from here. Some of the Western media are also agenda-based. That's why Donald Trump in 2016 started by calling them fake news. We thought he was just out of his mind. But now we know better how that legacy media can be used like this disinformation. Because the investigative report came out and said that these Western media are flying with the fake news that is amplified by IPOB. So why are we here? We are going to the platforms from where the disinformation is dished out to give them the facts as they are and our own Nigerian story. So we have commenced, even from next week and upper week, we will go to America. Whatever it takes for us to push the foreign policy objective of Nigeria, the strength of Nigeria, and to counter any negative thing against Nigeria, we will do, because Nigeria is a territorial country, the strongest black nation in the world, the biggest economy in Africa, and we're making the progress that is required. Probably one or two countries economically will struggle with them. This one confess today, tomorrow another one confess, but certainly Nigeria is on top.
All right, Dr. Bwala, I want to take you up on politics because, a lot has been happening with your party in the last few days. But before then, would you confidently say this administration has made progress in its fight against banditry and kidnapping?
Definitely. We've made a lot of progress. Because if you go to the Northwest, for example, you can see the pushback we have done, despite the fact that there are reports that politicians are involved in some of this insecurity. The banditry. That's why some of them are approaching the government to seek truce, that they don't want to continue with that. That is why we've been able to have a lot of them surrender.
Sir. This is not the first time Nigerians will be hearing representatives of government say there are some politicians who are finding the emblem of this crisis across the country. When do we begin to hear names?
When the media starts to call them out. Because the media, I'm not talking about you in particular, but generally the media in Nigeria, they have selective amnesia. They will see the perpetration of evil by certain politicians. But because either the politicians are in the opposition, or even if they are in the governing party, they will fail to call them out. They are waiting for somebody else to call them out. If government has information, we have never failed to call people out. But the fourth estate of the realm should do more by exposing anybody, whether in the government or even our own government or outside our government. But when you identify people who are promoting evil and crime in Nigeria, don't hide them. Call them out.
All right. So let's talk politics. I mean, more governors are trooping into your party every other day. And the same question I've been asking in the past 2 weeks. Isn't that an implosion waiting to happen?
No, it's a progress that is being made. Somebody asked me and said the president is forcing governors. I said, how can president force governors? Section 308 gives them immunity and protection. But no government will look at any other political party when they know that in this administration they got increased revenue that is giving them 200, some 300%, that now their states are not looking at them because they are able to pay salaries, they are able to pay their loans even. They are able to do infrastructure. But the state government need to do more in this business. But what we are saying is governors have seen how the kind of skill and style of governance President Bwala Tinubu is adopting or has adopted and is implementing is one that is collaborative. Look at it. Some of the governors that recently joined us, for many months or even more than a year, they are in another political party, but the president continues to synergize with them. He goes to commission projects in their state. He showers encomium on them. That is the president that is supposed to fight them all. He's showing collaboration. Look at other downlines in the National Assembly. Look at a lot of people that were against the president before. But when you would have thought that he will use the opportunity of power and fight them, no. He stretches the olive leaf and create a collaborative. You need to read a book, Lincoln on Leadership, Executive Summary for Tough Times. That is the philosophy of President Bwala Tinubu, that you can win the war by being collaborative in your approach rather than being vindictive. So he has made the party and the government attractive, and that is why they are coming. Now, the opposition who are saying that we are coercing those people, why is it that they who claim to be attractive are confused every day and nobody is staying with them? They are stranded like a wandering children. They don't know even where they are. So when even people say we are drifting towards a one-party state, whose responsibility is it to make sure that the state is not a one-party? Is it not the responsibility of opposition? The governing party can't sit down and say, let us have a conference on how to make Nigeria multi-party. No. As long as you are in the market selling your product, you keep selling your product. If you have the chance, you will sell your product to everybody. But the opposition are the ones that have. But how can they be? They are selfish people who will not create opportunity for new people in their party. They have been there for thy kingdom come. They want to govern by all means. They think of how to create crisis. Never thought about the welfare of their people. They can't even stay in one political party. They will jump from this one to, and then they will start crying that the nation is being turned into a one-party state. Whenever you lack the idea of what to do, everything else you see around you is the reason behind your problem. And that's what is happening to the opposition. So we continue to make our party attractive. In terms of implosion, there's no implosion. Look at Enugu, look at Abia, look at Bayelsa. Look, okay, Anambra is even a governor of Abga, but he supported the president. Why? Because the president's approach to leadership is collaborative. The key to successful leadership is when the leader can show to the people that he cares about their own interests as well. What differentiates President Bwala Tinubu with other leaders, and I can tell you that because I know one or two, is that President Bwala Tinubu, in his own plan, he ensures that you have a role in his plan. So he looks at it from the point of view that in the same way that you want my progress, I also want your progress. I want you to achieve your loftiest height in your career. So if you find such a leader, how can you not associate yourself with that? There are other leaders. They think that you are called as a slave. Your job in life is to worship them. Your interest is not important. Your future is not important. That of your children is not important. Just come and worship them. And if you can't worship them, you are not loyal. That's their philosophy. So he continues to win, whether from the governor's point of view, National Assembly point of view, or even people. You see people continue to shower that encomium. It is that kind of leadership that we need in Africa.
And ADC says 2027 elections will be between the APC and Nigerians. This is directly implying that Nigerians would vote out the APC in 2027. And because you talked about Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi said the ongoing defections by state governors in the southeast would not guarantee the political capture of the zone. Do you believe APC has delivered enough to win Nigerians over again in 2027?
Well, APC is not perfect, but APC is by far the best party in Nigeria. APC is not perfect, but APC is by far the most attractive party in Nigeria. APC is not perfect, but APC by far is the most visionary party in Nigeria. Peter Obi that you mentioned is the worst politician I've seen in recent memory. A politician that thinks only about himself and not even about the welfare of people who are supporting him. Where are the obedient? He has so disorganized them that it's difficult for you to differentiate between obedient and IPOB because of hate and vitriol on social media. Who has Peter Obi supported? There was one person, late Doyin Okube, gave his entire life supporting Peter Obi. When this man became ill, Peter Obi couldn't look at his end. We can count a lot. Okay, Peter Obi has lost key people around him. I can tell you the ones that I know. I know Valentine Ozigbo. Valentine Ozigbo was like the man holding Peter Obi on the back of his shoulder. Where is Kenneth? Peter Obi has demonstrated by the things happening around him that he is not a leader. He is an opportunist. He's looking for opportunity. That's why anything he can say to fund the emblem of crisis in Nigeria, he'll be willing to do it. When Nigeria scores a good point, Peter Obi will hibernate. When anything positive happens to Nigeria, he will hibernate. When any misfortune happens, he comes out to light. Is that the leader that the people can believe in? The reason we don't even talk about him, let me be very honest with you, he's inconsequential in the scheme of things. He does not even have a defined party. There's no party now that is giving him presidential ticket. Labour Party said they will not. ADC said they can't even give him vice president. So why is he? But he is very good in fanning the ember of hatred. That's why he's.
How did you know that? How did you know that, Dr. Bwala? You're not a member of those parties.
Also, you think that as a politician, my job is to behave like I'm deaf and dumb? Intelligence drives every life, every organization. You cannot, because you're in a political party, not be conscious of what is happening around your opponent. But the best case to what I'm saying is, look at the facts as they are. If I ask you, Peter Obi belongs to which political party? Which one will you talk? I'm sure you'll be dangling between ADC and Labour. If I ask you, Peter Obi, is he getting the political ticket? In fact, the people that Peter Obi thought he was going to come to in PDP and get the ticket, they say they are thinking of someone else. So Peter Obi is inconsequential. And I don't think at this moment we have anybody that come close to challenging president. We are not being arrogant. I'm just being pragmatic. And if you bring somebody, we'll then analyze. For now, there is no living politician that has so far put up a resume that can give Asiwaju a sleepless night. None.
All right, quickly before I let you go, Dr. Bwala, I mean, there have been growing accusations from Nigerians that some APC governors are not doing enough to complement President Bwala Tinubu's efforts, especially during this period of bold reforms. What do you have to say about that? Would you agree that there are some governors or APC governors who genuinely need to step up?
Yes, I agree. Very sadly, and I know that it is not popular for somebody in a party to say that you agree with that kind of notion. But after all is said and done, it's about governance. There are some governors that are not consolidating on what we're doing, but it's natural. We have majority who are consolidating on that, and that's important to us. We also have governors from other parties that are copying our vision of delivering on governance. Any governor that does not focus on infrastructure, any governor that does not improve the revenue of his state, any governor that does not invest in education, human capital development, any governor that does not pay attention to the security of his state, even if the governor is the right hand of the president, that governor is not doing the correct thing. Because copy from your leader who is President Bola Tinubu, every day of his governing life, he thinks of how to improve the welfare and the well-being of the Nigerian people. And that is reflected in the various decisions he's taking, including one that you asked when we began the interview, that if he needs to take a decision to change somebody very close to him, he will do that if that will benefit the Nigerian state. So if you're a governor, I think that if you are a true follower and believer of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, do in your state as he's doing in the center by investing robustly in education, in infrastructure, revamping your local economy, improving the well-being of your people, do a reform in the health sector, and make sure that the people in your state have a ray of hope in what you do, because that is what President Bola Tinubu is doing in the center.
All right, then, great place to leave this conversation tonight. We'll definitely continue some other time. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. Daniel Bwala, Special Advisor to the President on Media and Policy Communication. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Please have a great weekend.
Thank you as always. Thank you anytime. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Good night, everyone. I'll see you again on Monday.